Hello, my name is Tegan Simons, and I'd like to begin by thanking you for your time. I'd like to follow up with my gratitude with a story, if I may. So imagine this. You're back in high school, it's the second period, class is going as usual, a little bit boring to be honest. You feel your phone vibrate in your pocket. Naturally, you sneak a little peek at it. It's a text from your mom. Text reads, "I love you. Please respond ASAP so I know you're okay." What? Of course I'm fine. It's a Tuesday. Totally normal. As that thought runs through your head, the intercom system opens over the speakers. It's the principal giving the lockdown announcement. There's something different about this one, though. There was no practice precursor. A slightly panicked and confused vibe consumes the room as you all shuffle into a corner as your teacher hits the lights and locks the door. Your teacher checks his phone and whispers an announcement to the class. "The police are here, taking care of everything. Hopefully I'll have more information for you soon, but for now just sit tight and stay quiet." 20 minutes pass by before the principal pops back on the intercom and states that we are now on a lockout. Your class resumes, but no one is allowed out of their classroom. This would continue for the next 8 hours. That'd be crazy, right? It was. This was the story of my day as a senior at Comm-101 High School on December 13th, 2018. As a senior, me and my class were used to 1 to 3 hour lockdown drills and such to investigate potential threats to our school. But to the younger students and the surrounding schools, this was a traumatic and horrifying day. I'm here today to share some information not only about the tragedy that occurred in 1999 at Comm-101 High School, but how it has had lasting effect on my community, how school violence impacts communities across the country, and the steps we can take to stop this violent trend. Then I will share why I felt safe when the life of my classmates, loved ones, and myself was directly threatened, and how it could have been safer. Finally, I will enlighten you all to some facts about the relationship between gun violence in schools and gun laws. So join me as we take a look back in history to find the solution. The shooting at Comm-101 High School in '99 sparked the beginning of an era of terror in schools across the country. Though there had been numerous mass shootings, as well as school shootings prior to the Comm-101 High School massacre, none remain more infamous and relevant than when 2 students murdered 12 students and a teacher on April 20th, 1999 in Littleton, Colorado. Other schools of all grades have fallen victim to similar tragedy. Per History.com, on April 16, 2007, a gunman opened fire on 2 separate occasions in one day, resulting in 32 casualties at Virginia Tech. 5.5 years later, tragedy struck Sandy Hook Elementary School, where a 20-year-old gunman shot and killed 20 first graders and 2 staff members, injuring many others. The first 46 weeks of 2019, CNN reported the United States experienced 45 separate school-related shooting incidents across the country, triggering nationwide debate over subjects such as mental health, school security, and of course gun control. Now, these are just the facts available to the public. What is less available is the individual experience of students like myself, which is what I would like to share with you today. I receive a lot of questions about my time at Comm-101, but the most common and general question I receive is, what was it like? In many ways, life at Comm-101 was the same as any other high school in the country, but also very different at times. We went through the lockdown drills, and we have armed police officers assigned to our school, both of which have become standard across the country. The biggest thing we do not have in common with most high schools, though, is how often we deal with real threats of violence directed at our students, staff, and community. The Columbine community is often a victim of fear, whether it be anonymous prank calls or real threats, like when a student flew from Miami to see Columbine last year that prompted a massive manhunt for the suspect that was considered armed and dangerous due to her infatuation with the massacre and a purchase of a firearm. With the repetition of drills like the lockdown drills, students and staff were well prepared for the situations we encountered. There's only so much an unarmed students and teachers can do against an armed individual. The real thing that made me feel safe and kept me coming back for my education was the fact that at least 3 trained and skilled officers carried firearms on their person while walking the halls. But can all those individuals be trusted to do their job when the times come? A few individuals can protect thousands of students, can they? Law enforcement is constantly criticized by the American public, but they're always changing policy in response. Active shooter strategies have evolved since 1999 from their poor hostage situation tactics of 99 to a different strategy. Go in, take the shooter down by any means necessary in order to mitigate the damage done. I was unable to locate statistics on the efficiency of the new strategies as they vary so much from department to department, but most agree that logically they make more sense than the older strategies. Given that Homeland Security says most school shooters are ages 13 to 18, a law enforcement officer on his or her very first day is far more skilled and prepared for an encounter with an armed assailant than the vast majority of school shooters, simply based on that fact that some training is better than no training. But there is not enough armed and trained staff in schools to protect the amount of students and property they are expected to cover. For example of this, we can look at Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland, Florida. NBC News reports that 17 people were killed because one school resource officer, or SRO, was expected to protect about 3,500 students and staff. The one man failed to act accordingly, and with no backup options, 17 people were killed and 17 more were injured. If there were more people armed and trained in that building, whether it be teachers, staff, or more SROs, then I believe that the shooter would have been taken down much quicker, if not deterred entirely. School gun violence sparks a lot of different debates. The most publicized revolves around the Second Amendment of the United States, the right to keep and bear arms. Statistics guide this discussion in a clear and logical direction. The Center for Homeland Defense and Security report that the top 3 most gun-related incidents from 1970 to present by state are as follows: California at 158, Texas at 133, and Florida at 91. Despite relatively strict gun laws per the California Bureau of Firearms, California continues to experience gun violence in schools at very high rates. On the other end, number 2 on the list, Texas happens to have very relaxed gun laws. Also to be considered is the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990, which states that the possession or discharge of a firearm on school property will result in criminal charges. The act, however, has failed to prevent active shooter situations on at least 126 occasions, resulting in nearly 500 injuries and fatalities per the Center for Homeland Security and Defense. An additional factor to consider is that the age restriction to buy a gun was enacted by the ATF in the Gun Control Act of 1968. That required a person to be 18 to buy a long gun and 21 to buy a pistol, while the Center for Homeland Security and Defense reports the overwhelming average age of school shooters since 1970 lies between ages 13 and 18, too young to legally own the firearms they are turning against their fellow students. So if taking guns out of schools has proven to increase the amount of school shootings, the logical solution is to put more firearms and training in schools. Teachers have all summer off they could train with professionals, and those SROs are placed into normal patrol schedules. If we instead give teachers the option to attend firearm training courses free of charge run by the SROs, who are paid their normal paycheck, we would in turn have more trained staff in schools to protect America's future. As for the firearms in schools, teachers would be given a list of acceptable firearms for them to purchase or be issued a standard issue of some kind and standard issue ammunition, just like any law enforcement officer would. So what does all this mean? I've informed you all of examples of gun violence in schools, shared why me and my classmates felt pretty safe at Columbine, but what could have improved the safety. And I have displayed the connection between gun violence and gun laws so that you can see the solution to this problem. Given this information, it is clear that gun violence does not end with gun-free school zones, but rather training and arming more individuals in schools. Relying on signs that say gun-free zone to keep America's youth safe in schools has proven to invite violence in and cost lives. Are you willing to trust your life to a sheet of metal? What about your brothers and sisters and children? Keep these questions in mind come next election season. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all are staying happy and healthy during these trying times.